So welcome back to the Microsoft AI 102 preparation course. And before you get equipped with all the superpowers that this course is going to help you achieve, I'm going to also give you some guidance on how to use AI responsibly. Yeah, so this is very important, and therefore we're going to look at the Microsoft Responsible AI guidelines. And there are 6 pillars to these guidelines. So we're going to quickly run through all of them so that you get a fair idea of what is good for building good AI systems, what is behind building good AI systems, what are some of the considerations that you need to keep in mind. So nothing to worry about, but just make sure that you understand that your systems that you will build in the future using the knowledge you gain in this course should follow these principles. So let's talk about fairness to begin with. And the overall goal is to make AI systems that treat people fairly, right? So the challenge is that AI system can be biased. Why does an AI system get biased? Because sometimes you might use data that is not representative of all the people on the planet Earth, or it might be that the model itself is somehow biased because of its architecture. So what you need to make sure is that the data represents a wide variety of, or is representative of the entire population as much as possible, and that you choose models that are designed to be fair. So an example is like, you might be building a resume application which screens for applicants and whether they fit an engineering job. And because in the past your company has usually hired male engineers, the algorithm might think that being male is kind of inherent to being an engineer, and it might start rejecting the female candidates or other candidates without giving any proper due consideration. So that's just one example, and that you need to keep in mind, and that you should always build fair systems. Now we talk about reliability and safety, and the fact that AI systems could be used for critical services, which makes it very important that you build a reliable and safe system. And therefore, like for example, a challenge could be that AI system is like diagnosing a certain illness, and therefore when such a system is being built, one way to make sure that it's safe and reliable is to put a human in the loop always. So the AI system should not be able to deliver a result without the human intervention assessing the result. So that's one way to incorporate reliability and safety. Now we talk about privacy and security, very, very important. The data that you use to build the AI system, the outcomes, etc., might contain personal information, and therefore you should be very, very careful of how you design these systems. So for example, you all have devices in the home perhaps which are commanded by the voice. So Alexa from Amazon is a good example. A lot of my friends have Alexa at home, and they invoke Alexa with by saying, Alexa, can you turn on the light? And therefore, what might happen that if you create an AI system which is listening for commands from the user, but it's also listening to other dialogues, other conversations happening in the apartment or the house, and therefore you have to make sure that you're not uploading all the conversations, or you're not even recording all the conversations, but you are recording the conversation only when you hear a certain command from the user. So that's one way, or one example of how privacy and security could play an important role in building your AI system. Inclusiveness is important because your AI system should, or the fact that you're building an AI system should not hinder someone's access to the service, right? So for example, if you are replacing your bank's support center with AI bot completely, then that might cause problems for people with visual impairment or other kind of disabilities, right? So you should always keep in mind that some people will not be able to use your service, and therefore you need to factor in alternate mechanisms, or you need to build your service in such a way that it's inclusive to everybody in the society and not alienate any section of the society for that matter. Now, coming to transparency, it's important. So, one charter guideline that will be uh, put in place by the EU AI Act is that you have to inform the user when you build an AI system that this user is actually interacting with an AI system and not some human. So, if you have a chat bot, when the user opens the chatbot, you should immediately inform the user that this is not a human chatbot, this is an AI chatbot. So that's one way of building transparency. The other way is to explain how the data has been selected. Perhaps you will do that to your authorities. You will describe this to the compliance officers. But in any way, you have to make sure that you are very transparent of how you built the AI system without perhaps not giving away proprietary information that your company has, but good enough information to the right authorities and to the public in common to explain that you're actually using AI in those systems. Accountability is very important. So you're going to build a system which might cause harm to the end user or to the society in general. And if such an incident happens, either intentionally or unintentionally, most likely unintentionally, then the society should know who is to be held accountable, and therefore you will have to create again a charter where you describe what the accountability is and who to reach out if they notice that the AI system is not behaving in the right way. So one of the examples where accountability is so key is, let's say, an autonomous driving vehicle, right? So these vehicles are on the road, and we have seen with Tesla, for example, users are activating the autonomous driving and not following the right instructions, and therefore causing accidents, and some of them accidents were quite fatal. And therefore this is very important to make sure that accountability is pinned right at the beginning of the project. So those are some of the principles that you need to keep in mind. You can of course access the Azure or the Microsoft AI guide, responsible AI guidelines on their website. I would highly encourage you to read through them, to understand them, and then incorporate them in your AI systems. Now, what has Microsoft done to make sure that this is not just a piece of text? Is like they have incorporated some limitations into the services so that you are not going to cause any harm unintentionally or intentionally. And these are the services that have limited access. So custom neural voice, for example, you will be restricted to use basic features and not pro features. Or if you're using Azure OpenAI, for example, then there is some modification to the abuse monitoring and content filters. Of course, you can unlock these features by applying to Microsoft and explaining your use case, and then Microsoft will decide if those use cases are part or compliant to their responsible AI guidelines, and then release those features to you. So again, an example is a Face API, which helps you detect faces. Now you can use the Face API to create some very privacy or create some apps that have that are breaching people's privacy, or you can create some apps that are actually helping protect people. For example, a good face detection app is to make sure that all the children that enter a classroom are also exiting the classroom, and in this way, if there's a fire in the building, you can make sure that all the occupants that went in to that building during a certain day are also outside of the building, because you can then compare the faces that went into the faces that went out of the building. Of course, these applications could be used by law enforcement to accelerate the detection of crime and punishment of crime. So for those kind of organization, governmental organization, Azure, I think, will be more forthcoming to enable these features. But if you are as an individual asking for these features, then there might be questions asked, and you might have to justify the need for such powerful features. So that's basically a very quick wrap up of the Microsoft Responsible AI guidelines. I hope you will incorporate them in your development efforts. Thank you.